Peacekeepers of the galaxy later turned generals of war. The Jedi Order was one of the most widely known yet secretive organizations in the galaxy. So when they weren't on a mission or honing their lightsaber and force abilities, what did the Jedi do in their free time? Well, the life of a Jedi was probably one of the strictest things in existence, especially during the time nearing the start of the Clone Wars. There were a ton of restrictions on what Jedi could do, and the few things that were allowed were even looked down upon, either viewed as a waste of time or a warning sign of a Jedi's path to separating themselves from the Order's ways. Meditation was one of the few things that was encouraged within the temple, as a thing that everyone should do. So much so that Jedi younglings were forced to meditate at least 5 times a day, as a way to have them get used to only doing that in their spare time, as well as to teach them that meditation could solve all of their inner problems. If you were angry, depressed, or had desires that went beyond the teachings of the Order, then most mentors would tell you just to meditate on it, and that it was the only way that you'll find peace with your issues. Essentially, the Jedi slogan was to meditate your problems away. So meditation was the thing that most Jedi did. They meditated everywhere from their private living quarters to the tops of vast landscapes on planets that they were stationed on for missions. Jedi who had more technical minds spent their time privately repairing and building machines. Anakin Skywalker spent much of his time in his room messing with battle droid parts and playing with models of ships like he did when he was younger. Repairing and modifying his starfighter was also another hobby that he enjoyed doing. A different Jedi by the name of Kazdan Paratus also spent his spare time working on machines, creating droids to help the Jedi in battle, as well as inventing an attachment for himself that helped compensate his small stature. And although working on machines was allowed by the Jedi, it was looked down upon and caused anxiety among some masters, who viewed those who closed themselves off away from their peers of having a greater chance of deviating from the Order's teachings and falling to the dark side. More ambitious Jedi who wished to gain more knowledge and power found themselves within the Jedi archives, reading and learning of the century-old secrets that were kept there. Others spent their time training for hours on end, seeking to perfect a certain lightsaber form or to fully master a force ability. A few Jedi actually went against the rules when it came to forming romantic relationships, and went on to secretly get married. One we all know about is Anakin, who occasionally snuck out of the temple and spent time with his wife Padme. Another Jedi by the name of Nija Halcyon also had a secret marriage as well as a secret son by the name of Hal Horn. He and Anakin actually revealed their marriages to each other, convincing one another that what they were doing wasn't wrong, and that there were probably other Jedi who broke the rules in order to pursue happiness. Although forming families was forbidden by the Jedi, they did make rare special exceptions to some members whose species required it. For example, Ki-Adi-Mundi's species had a very low birth rate, and required the rapidly aging males to mate with multiple women as means of keeping them from going extinct. So Mundi was allowed to have multiple wives and children, and he went back home to do just that when he had spare time. With that being said, he was still forbidden from having any personal attachments to any family members, even his children. So Mundi was allowed to have a family, but he wasn't allowed to love them. Even the younglings couldn't escape this strict lifestyle. As we mentioned earlier, throughout their training and study-filled days, they were forced to undergo 5 mandatory meditation sessions. This was done as a way to get them into the habit of meditating, and having them find the importance of doing so. Younglings were placed into clans of 10, and they stayed in these clans until they were old enough to become Padawans. When not at their studies, the younglings spent their free time learning the entire layout of the Jedi Temple, as well as the histories and significance behind all the statues and artwork displayed throughout the halls. Surprisingly enough, despite all these strict rules, drinking alcohol was technically allowed. It was of course looked down upon heavily, especially when done by Padawans. However, drinking alcohol was encouraged when necessary during missions, whether it be as a way to show respect for a culture, or as means of trying to blend in. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe for more videos like this one. And as always, may the Force be with you.